All right. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Harshing's podcast. Today we have two special guests. Guests, please introduce yourself.
All right. Well, thank you, Mario and Graciela, for having us. This is Araceli. I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you.
This is Gustavo. Great to be here too.
All right. Thank you guys for coming in. I know it's kind of, our schedule has been kind of crazy, so we're trying to get you guys to come on and talk to us, but thank you for coming. Yeah. So I know we know you guys for a while. Gustavo, I think I know you more.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah, from
Middle school, would you say?
way back.
No, like Downer Elementary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Long time ago.
rival teams.
Wait, you went to Downer?
No, but soccer team.
Soccer team.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Yeah, soccer team.
yeah, it was our rivals here and there. But we know you guys high school.
Right.
And I know that's when the background is you guys met in high school, right?
Yeah, high school.
Yeah.
Just
We
like you
think.
guys.
Yeah,
Oh.
no, that was it.
Okay.
Yeah. Junior year. We started going out junior year.
Oh, okay. All right. So how did that start? That's my basic question. Like, how did you guys start talking?
You want me to start, Gus?
Yeah, you can start.
Oh.
I'll take it. You can start it
That's
off.
so nice. Well, I remember my friend Cynthia introduced me to Gustavo. And she was just like, oh, there's this boy that likes you. I'm like, oh, really? Like, who is it? Oh, it's Gustavo. Like, oh, okay. I knew who he was, but we didn't really have classes together in junior year. And I didn't really talk to him before. So I was just like, okay, well. And I think he just approached me and we just started talking and hanging out and things like that. But nothing serious until I think he had the courage to ask me out. So I think that was the other thing, that when he was ready, I guess, ready to ask me out, he texted me. And I was like, what? In a text? And I told Cynthia, I'm like, no. Like, go tell your friend that if he wants to go out with me, he needs to ask me in person. Yeah. And so he did. After a while, he did. But yeah. Anything else you want to add, Gustavo?
Well, we did have classes together in high school.
Oh, see, and I always forget that.
She just doesn't remember.
I was invisible, that's why.
Oh.
And then she's right. I just kind of approached her, and then I did send her a text message. I remember that, and she was just like, "No, you had to tell me in person." And it's just, in high school, it's nerve wracking to even ask somebody. So I was definitely shy when it came to the ladies. Mm-hmm. And then so when that finally had the courage, it was like, okay. And then I asked her, and it all worked out.
Were you, before you asked her, were you guys already talking, or was it just like,
Yeah. So we were already talking. We were part of, I think College is Real already at that point, the after-school program. So we saw each other more often, and then started talking more. And then I tried to, I liked her, so I definitely tried to hang out with her whenever I could.
Yeah.
And then from there, we just kind of started hanging out, and that's pretty
I
much
think
it.
he did something super random and kind of brave at the time. I think it was. I remember it was one of the academies. I forgot. Cynthia and Sylvia and some other friends were part of it. They were going on a field trip to the Exploratorium. Maybe you were there, Mario.
Is it the health or law?
It wasn't the health or law. It was the media academy. I think.
Media academy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they went to a field trip to the Exploratorium, and it was in the morning, and we were hanging out on the tables by the cafeteria, and I told Gustavo, because I knew Gustavo had a car or drove at that time, and I told him, hey, let's go to San Francisco let's just go with the academy, go to the Exploratorium. And it was my friend Adriana and Gustavo, and we convinced him. He's like, yeah, we had a plan, right? You could drive us to the BART station. We'll take BART. We'll just meet them at the Exploratorium. We'll say we're part of the group. So we ditched class that day. Whole school pretty much. And I never thought he would do that, and he did. I think it was to impress us, I could do things like that.
I would never do that. I would have never done that if it wasn't for that.
But he did, and it was exciting and scary at the same time that we actually did that, because I don't think any of us that was not really our thing, cut class or ditch school for the whole day. And we did, and the worst part was that we got caught. So we were at the Exploratorium. It was at the end, very end. We were there the whole day, and it was at the end, and the teachers were starting a head count. make sure everyone was there. And they're like,
There's
there's
extras.
3 extra students. And we're like, shoot, like we need to get out of here, right? But it was too late. They found out who we were. They called our parents. My friend Adriana was freaking out because we were seniors by then, right? Gus?
No, we were juniors.
Oh, we were juniors. We were not even
yeah,
going out.
we were
Yeah.
juniors, yeah.
My friend was a sophomore and she was freaking out. She's like, my parents are going to kill me.
They called your parents?
Yeah, they called my parents. Yes, they called my parents. I remember you were lucky that you had your mom's cell phone, but your mom was always working. She never answered the phone. So she
Because he
never
had it.
Right. So
I just remember the teacher's like, I don't know who you 3 are, but you guys aren't part of the group. You guys need to leave. That's all I remember. I don't remember getting
But you had
calls.
drove there, so you're like, we got our own
Yeah,
way.
we had our own way back.
Yeah,
It wasn't a big deal, but it was, like I said, I would never do something like that. So it was definitely like, scary, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
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 So the day, okay, when you text her, that's my question. Like, of course, you asked her through text. She denied. She said no.
She said no.
How were you feeling when you sent that text? How nervous were you?
Well, she didn't say no. She just said that if I wanted to date her, that I would have to ask her in person. That's something I have to do in person. And then I was like, okay, well, I could do that. And it's funny because I texted her, and then I think that was like on a Friday. I was, like I said, very nervous, scared. So I did like when I wouldn't have to see her. I did it on a Friday after school on my way home. So that way I would have to see her until Monday. So that way, if she says no, then I got the weekend to get over it, and then that's it. But then she told me that, and it's funny just because even the following Monday, I didn't even ask you out in person. Huh? It took like a few days before after that text message.
right.
And so I mustered up the courage to be like, you know what? Will you go out? And then she said, yeah. And then that's kind of how it started.
Nice. So
Cute.
yeah, it is. It's smart too. Like wait till the 2-3 days. But so when he finally asked you, like, what were you feeling? Like, I mean, you're pretty sure you already knew it was coming, right?
Right. Yeah. I was just kind of waiting for him. I liked him. I mean, it was funny. I felt special, right? That like, oh, there's someone that's interested in me. And at first I wasn't too sure because I have never dated. Gustavo was my first boyfriend. So I was like, I don't know how it's going to work. It was going to happen. But then we talked and we're like, let's take things slow. Like, let's see how it goes. And at first he would still hang out with his friends during lunch and I would still hang out with my friends. It wasn't like we were together the whole time. Like that was never really our thing. Like cada quien por su lado un ratito. So that happened. But little by little, I guess he grew on me.
Yeah, it was kind of weird just because, like she said, it was like we were dating, but then not really because during lunches, like I'd still go play soccer. And I feel like that kind of helped too, that we weren't together all the time. So we still had our friends, so we still had our kind of like individual lives, which as an adult, you kind of have to have in a relationship. If not, then you kind of get bored of each other. Not bored, but sometimes it's too much and you kind of need a break.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it was. And then college and then now 2 kids and a house
I was
later.
going to say that.
14 years
So
together.
you guys were going to take it slow and then look at you guys now.
I know, right?
Wow.
It's crazy.
Do you guys ever talk to the kids about like how your relationship, like, well, not the little one, but the older one? Like, do you guys have those conversations? Like, is he curious?
Not yet.
No?
I think he was more curious about, are you married? Are you married already? I mean, we were not. We actually just got married this year. Like legally, officially. Yeah. So he did ask us that, like, oh, when are you guys going to get married? My friend's parents are married or things like that, right? It's like, okay, I guess it's time, let's just do it.
Like 14 years later,
Yep.
fine. We'll get married, sure.
Yeah. But the whole dating, I don't think he still understands or is interested in that yet.
Yeah.
Yet, yes.
Yeah, so I know with our kids, we play around with them. Like sometimes we're like, she'll joke with Aiden or Adi, like, oh, your dad is talking to her new girlfriend. And like things like that, they get mad.
I did that this morning to Adi. I did that this morning because he was texting me. He was in the kitchen or somewhere. And I was like, she's like, who are you texting? I was like, oh, my other boyfriend. And then she's like, you can't have another boyfriend. I was like, why not? Don't tell your dad. And then she told him, like,
She's got your back, Mario.
Yeah,
she does.
it's the other way around too, though.
Yeah,
so-
Aiden does the same thing.
Yeah.
But we just joke around with them. And they know. It's just a
We
joke.
do the same thing with
Same thing.
Sebastian, but he knows it's a joke.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think with that, I think Aiden kind of knows
What?
about what dating is. No, right? It's probably just a joke that he takes. Yeah, I was kind of drifting off somewhere else. My bad.
No, he
it's-
kind of does.
Yeah.
He does. He has a concept of like what it's like to date someone and like, you know, commit to someone and like how we're talking about like joking and stuff. Like you can't have another boyfriend or another girlfriend. Like, you know, he knows the basic like that, but he's not curious for like himself or anything
Right.
like
Yeah.
that. But
Right.
just he looks at us and he knows.
He kind of knows.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So you got one of the things that people talk about. Oh, we tell them, oh, we've been together for this long. And then people are like, that's a long time. But you guys have been together longer than us, you know. So you actually, guys, the term is high school sweethearts. So you guys are high school sweethearts. Basically, for that 14 years, how do you guys, you know, deal with problems like, you know, fighting, arguments or miscommunication? You know, because we've had ours, you know, and
I feel like anyone that's been together for a long time has had. Just like, I mean, we definitely have had our miscommunications and issues, but at first it was like holding it in, right? That was one of the things at first, and then we realized like it's not going to work if we keep doing that, because small things start rolling into big things, and then eventually we're having this huge fight over you forgot to turn off the lights or something dumb like that.
Yeah.
And then, it's not just the lights, obviously. So now I think we've tried. We're trying to, of course, to be open and when something's bothering us, and we know each other so well, and I'm sure you and Graciela do too. Like when she's like, "I'm not mad," like I know she's mad. So we try like, okay, what's wrong? I don't want to be. We don't want to be mad at each other, and then that's when we start talking about our problems or what we can do to fix it.
Right. And I think, over the years, you learn from each other and you change. I feel like I have changed a lot because of Gustavo and our relationship. Like he said, like before, I used to hold everything in. Like I wouldn't tell him how I would feel or what I was thinking. And like he said, that didn't work out. Like that was not the solution. So especially when we had problems and we were not honest. So little by little, I've been changing and letting him know and being honest with him and telling him what's bothering me so we could address it and then just kind of move forward from that. But for sure, that's something that thanks to him, because he's more laid back than I am. You know, I've always been like the perfectionist, or I have my plans and they have to go exactly how I want them, how I plan them. And he's more laid back and more relaxed, and he adapts to changes, and that has helped me kind of let things go a little bit and not be so like, oh, I want it exactly like this. Like this is how I want it to go. So for sure, that's helped me a lot.
Kind of like a guy thing.
I don't know, because I feel like I'm the same way. You know, it's kind of like I'm just like him.
I'm thinking about it, and
Yeah.
I'm like, me too. I'm kind of more like, this has to be like this. And when it's not, like, I tend to freak out. Like, you know, I tend to, like, get to a place that I don't want to get to. And then he's always kind of like the person that's, like, calming me down. Like, you know, it's fine. Giving me, like, solutions to the problem.
Exactly.
And I'm sitting there like, okay, well, thinking about it a different way. He allows me to think of it a different way. So, yeah, I think, you know.
Yeah, because I don't know with you, but with us, we've had issues with you know, any little thing, right? And I'm more like, you know, okay, well, like let's take a step back, or like it's not really that big of a deal. To her, it is.
Well, see, when it's like plans, when it's like you said, like things that you in your mind have set, like this is how I would like for it to go, then yeah, it's he's more of the level-headed. But when it's like, I don't know, like something that's bothering him, he's the one that bottles things up. And I'm the one that's like, hey, are you mad? No, I'm good. But I know he's mad.
Right.
You know, and then it'll take him a little. Now I've learned to kind of not push it. I'll be like, well, when you're ready, you'll let me know what's going on. And then when he is ready, he lets me know what's going on. He starts communicating.
Right.
But I'm more of like, I'm really open with my feelings, and like, if I feel something, I'm gonna let him know straight up. Like, this is what bothered me right now, or whatever. Like, I'm gonna let him know.
Yeah, I feel like I'm like she said, I'm pretty laid back, but that is true. There are some small things like you gotta pick your battles, where I do just told it. I'm just like, I'm gonna get over it. Like it's not a big deal, and it's just kind of like just let it pass. And then, but if it's something big or something I feel like that's going to keep happening, then yeah, I do let Araceli know, like, look, I didn't like this, but there are definitely those times where I'm just like bottling in. But like we were saying earlier, she knows me pretty well. So when I'm mad, like it's pretty obvious. I'll be like, she's like, oh, estás enojada? I'm like, no, I'm not. And she's like, okay, yeah, you're mad. and then we'll talk about it. So like I said, we're still working on trying to be completely open about everything. Because, I mean, we're not perfect. But yeah, so we just know each other so well that it just kind of works out that way.
I think I've heard a thing where like we constantly change. Like you're not the same person as you were like last year. It's like you're always changing, and it's like you always have to get to know each other. So
Yeah.
that's probably what's happening.
Yeah. And if it's for a positive thing, then like it's good to evolve, right?
Yeah. I know one of the things that I've talked to her about has been like little things, you know, like picking up socks. You know, sometimes to be like, you know, okay, I'll pick it up, and sometimes I can be like, okay, if it bothers you so much, like, you know, did you trip over it? It's just a sock. So it's like, you know, it could be like little things, like it can be the small.
I do trip over the shoes.
Oh, but that's I'm talking about socks. Okay.
Thank you.
No, but yeah, so it's like sometimes I can be like, you know, I mean, it depends on my mood. You know, I'm like, okay, I'll pick it up. It's not a big thing. I'll help you out. I mean, I can be like, you know, I don't know, in my own world. And I'm like, did you trip over the sock? Is it bothering you? Did it hurt you? I'm like, you know, so it's like little things like that. I mean, that we've like, you know, me.
It's very sarcastic.
Yeah, I'm very sarcastic, and it can be at times it can be funny, and then sometimes it can get her annoyed or mad. But I've learned also like, okay, it's not that serious, you know. So besides that, has there been anything in your relationship that could have like, you know, been an obstacle? Because obviously you guys seem like a very happy couple, but I know from our experience and other people's experience that you have to have, you know, a start point where, you know, maybe you guys were rough and now you're up here. You know, has there been situations like that?
Oh yeah, there has. There definitely has. Yeah, it was like. Trying to think of that. I know there's been a few. I wouldn't say there's like two.
I think exactly. I was gonna say that.
There's
It's
been
been
like
two big fights that were like, okay, are we either gonna
move past this
or that's it? You know, like yeah, it's been two. The reasons why
I think, and it was like one of them was definitely like at the beginning of the relationship when we were like holding stuff up. So like that fight ended up being something huge over something that was just kind of like an addition of a bunch of things. But of course, when you have and then one was when Sebastian was born, right? And then it's because
priorities. I think
yeah,
that's what it was. You know, like we were a young couple with a kid, and so my priorities were different than his priorities, and they were not matching. Especially after having a baby, having a kid together, we're like, okay, Gustavo, like we have to rethink this, right? Like, we need to get our priorities straight. And right now it's our kid and nothing else. In my opinion, that was my opinion, right? So he had to like think that through, like, oh yeah, like, and realize that, yeah, it's our lives changed after our baby.
Yeah, because
it couldn't be the same.
Yeah, so. And I'll admit that, and that's where I compromised too, because there was a point in time where before Sebastian was born, I would hang out with my friends every weekend, every single weekend, multiple days a week. It'd be like constant, right? And then Sebastian was born, and of course I limited it a little bit, but I was still seeing them at least twice a week, right, or something like that. And it did get to the point where it was like, oh well, I want to go hang out with my friends. I don't want to just sit here at home all day or whatever. And then there was this incident where I didn't have work, and I didn't tell her I didn't have work, but I was like, I'm gonna go to work, right?
So he lied, right? I didn't know at the time. I didn't know.
So then I was like, I'm going to go to work, all right? I'll see you later. But that's because, of course, as a couple, you want to make her happy, right? So she was like, oh, I don't want you to. And she didn't say she didn't want me to see my friends. It was just I was seeing them too often. And I understood. But then, of course, going from every single week and to like once, at the time, like once a month or, you know, it significantly dropped. I was like, okay, I'm going to go to work. And I didn't have work. And then she didn't know that. And then she found out. And it turned into a huge fight. And then it did get to the point where it was like, we got to push past this, or this might be it, you know? Mm-hmm. And then that's when we talked about it. She realized, she was like, I can't keep you from your friends all the time, because she understood that, you know, I came from seeing them all the time to hardly seeing them. So, and then I understood that I couldn't see them as much as I wanted to, because now I'm a family man. Like, I have a kid, I have to be there, of course. I have to help her with the baby, and that's where we kind of made the agreement to kind of both of us compromise. And I feel like compromise is such a big thing in a relationship. Yeah.
I also feel like sometimes little white lies like hurt a little more than if you would have just been like super blunt and honest,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I could have just been honest and been like, you know what, I want to see my friends. I'm not going to go to work today, but I'm going to go hang out with them. I'm sure it would have been a lot better than what happened.
I mean,
Yeah.
I still would have been mad, and
Yeah,
he
yeah.
knows me. He knew I would probably be mad, but at least he was being
Yeah.
honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
So after that fight, how long did it take you guys to like be like, okay, we have to come up with a solution, or we have to compromise? How long did it take? Was it like a big fight where you guys had to like wait it out, or something that right on the spot, okay, let's talk about it now?
Well, I don't remember it very clearly now because it was a while ago. Like, Sebastian was born 9 years ago, so it was about, I want to say 8.5 years ago that we had this fight. But I do remember at the time, Araceli was very upset. She was kind of like, "Oh, this is it. We're done," right? And it's funny because I think we were we took a break. Like,
We did,
we took a break.
I think
like,
it was a couple days.
yeah, we took a couple days where we didn't really talk about it, but then we realized, like, yeah, we got to talk about this because it's, and then you have a kid now, so you can't just separate after the kid's born. So that's when we kind of talked about it, and then we passed it.
Well, I'm glad you guys worked that out because you guys are a beautiful family.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
I like to see you guys together.
Yeah,
Thanks.
when we go to the games, it's like you guys there, and then la baby, la niña,
Yeah.
like it kind of just completes it,
I
So
know.
it's
I
nice.
know. That's what I told him. Like, 2 babies. That's it, Goose.
I was just gonna ask that. Any more kids?
No.
No. Oh.
I used to want 3, but then after Paula, because Sebastian was very chill, he was like the best baby, and Paula something else.
You guys got lucky with the
Yeah.
first one then.
Man,
Oh my
Aiden.
God, Aiden.
Aiden was a handful, honestly. A veces I was like, oh, I can't do this though. Cuando estaba un poquito más grande and he would cry, I'm like, Aiden, what is wrong? He was just crying. It's just, sometimes it was just, with me, a veces he needed to like burp, right? And I would try to burp him, but then I would get frustrated. This is not working. Let me do something else. He just needed to burp. I just had to do a little longer. And I remember a few times that happened. Like I would rock him. I would try to do the swing. I tried so many things. At the end, I would try to burp him again, and then finally he burps, and then it was like big burp.
I
Like,
think we needed a lot of
That's
patience.
it.
yeah, it was just the
Yes.
patient part.
Yeah.
It's hard as a young couple, with a young parent as well. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, and I know with Adi, we had to wake her up. Well, you had to wake her up to feed her. It was like big difference.
She's always been very independent.
Yeah. So I don't know how far you guys, like, if you listened to a previous episode with Adi, is like I was super scared. Porque, like, Aiden and the whole thing. And like we were kind of rocking our relationship. So I was kind of scared, like, that was with Aiden. And it's almost,
It rocked our relationship.
it almost broke us apart. And
Right.
now the second one's coming. I was freaking out. I was like,
You don't want it.
I know I didn't. I mean, not that I
Yeah.
didn't want the baby. It's just I was more scared about what that meant for our relationship, And it was like, I was shocked. And she told me like, "Oh, you stopped talking to me for days." I'm like, "No, I don't like
yeah.
that. I didn't do that."
I'm sorry, but I feel like I hold that over him all the
Yeah,
time.
but
like,
it's true,
You
though.
didn't talk to me for like 3 days. I don't mean to bring it up like that, but it's like I feel like it was something that was like really like impactful at the moment. It's like we needed to talk about it, and the baby was coming.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's I'm glad we moved past that, but that was hard.
Yeah, and now we have the third one coming.
Yes,
And now-
congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So originally the plan was having 4 or 5 kids. I actually said it was.
Originally,
That's still the plan.
hey, that's
No,
still
you
the
lied. Oh, sorry. So we said, okay, let's do 5. I'm like, well, maybe 4. Okay, 4 we can do because we're better now. I feel like I'm more mature. Let's do 4. And now we're going through a third one, and she has nauseous.
Well, like for the past maybe week, like before that, I was feeling terrible. Like for the past week, I've had my energy. I wake up and I'm like, I usually tell the kids, go take the dogs out, like go feed the pets. Like I don't have energy for that. But like I've been super energetic lately. Like I can actually get out of the house on my days off. Like today I was off. I'm like I was out there and I'm good. Other days, weeks past, like I couldn't. Like I didn't even want to get out of bed. Like I felt so tired, so fatigued, nauseous. Like I had all the symptoms.
Yeah,
But
and she was
yeah.
like,
I don't
want
think
a
I
fourth
can do
one.
this anymore.
This is the last one. Like, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
And now she's back to 4 or 5. Damn. I thought I was good at 3.
Hey,
No,
your
yeah.
energy levels up again, Mario. Like, I can do this.
Yeah.
I got this.
But yeah, so it's I guess it's nice, you guys are, you went through that, it could have broken you guys apart, but it didn't. So let's go move forward a couple of years later. Sebastian, how did you guys find out? How did you find out? What were you guys going through in your head?
Were you guys planning it?
No. So I was in college. It was my junior year in college. And it's funny because it happened after we had a little breakup as well, right, Goose? We had I wanted to take some time. I wanted to have like college experience in a way, hang out with other people, get to know other people. So we took a little time off, and it didn't work out. I think we both knew that we still wanted to be together. So we came back together, and a little after that, I got pregnant, and I told Gustavo, and Gustavo was like, well, what are we going to do? And I guess my beliefs as growing up Catholic, things like that, like it never came to my mind like, oh, to have an abortion, it was just like, well, we're having it, right? Like, yeah, sure. And then I think the hardest part was just telling my parents and his parents, really. I think that was, I mean, they were fine. Okay. It was so funny. My mom was like, I had a dream that you were pregnant. And I was like, really? So she felt it. She's like, I kind of felt that was going to happen soon. I was like, oh, interesting. And the same thing with the second one. I don't know, my mom says she's a bruja. Because the second baby, she knew when Paula was going to be born, like that day. Like she felt like, oh, she's coming already. But yeah, I think with our first baby, that was the hardest part, just telling our parents. Because of that idea of like, oh, I'm going to disappoint them, right? I'm still in college. I haven't graduated yet. And what are we going to do with the baby? We're still living at home. All those thoughts that come to your mind. You're like, we're not ready. But we had him, of course. And Sebastian's, like Gustavo said, the best baby, the best kid. Yeah, he's very helpful right now. He's the best big brother for Paula. So we're happy. But yeah, that was for sure a big challenge.
Yeah, I definitely left the decision up to her because I was like, it's her body. She gets to choose. If she says yes, then we're having a baby. If she's no, then just support her. Because I mean, I was a part of this. But yeah, it definitely was a scary moment when she told me, like my heart dropped. Because I wasn't even 21 yet when she told me the news, And actually it's funny because Sebastian was born a week after my birthday. But yeah, it was a scary time, scary news. And then, but it all worked out.
Right.
I know, right? How old is he? He's 9.
He's 9.
He's 9.
So he's a year younger than Aiden. Yeah.
Well, I think he was born 2011, but he was born in December. Which makes him
the end of the year.
December what?
3rd.
Oh, okay. I'm 8. So
close.
He's a little Sagittarius.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys are pregnant. He's coming. He's born. How are you feeling? What was your emotion like?
I think we were super lucky to have the support of our parents, for sure, because I was able to go back to school. I finished school thanks to my parents and his parents as well for like taking care of him, looking after him while I went to class, all of that stuff. So yeah, very thankful. So after that, I finished school. We moved in together. We were taking
we hadn't even lived together yet.
Yeah, we didn't. It was a big shock. It was like, okay, so all of this is moving so quick. Like, okay, so we were living together, but everything worked out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she went back to school. I was going to Contra Costa at the time, and then I think I started working full time while you were going to school. But like she said, our parents helped out so much. Because at first they weren't even charging us rent at first, but then afterwards that changed. But yeah, they were being very supportive. They would take care of Sebastian, and of course, when grandparents take care of their kids, it's like their own. So they teach them, they feed them, they care for them. So yeah, if it wasn't for our parents, I honestly think it would have been very, very, very tough.
Right. Yeah. And family in general, right? Like I had my cousin who also babysit Sebastian while I was in class, and my parents working and things like that. So. for sure it takes a
lot
village.
of family support. Yeah.
Sure.
That's good. I know with us, I mean, I was full time, you know, and she was going part time. So we didn't have support from both our families. Mostly like, you know, my mom, and then from time to time, some of her friends would help
Well,
us out.
actually, like I had a friend who would watch him. I think for like the first year of his life, she was watching him because I started working, and like she helped me out a lot. You know, I paid her what I could, and that was super helpful because I'm sure you guys know babysitting is expensive.
It is.
And then his mom actually, I think she had moved back or something like that. And then she started taking over, and she was taking care of him. So since then, she's been taking care of both of them. And it's like you guys said, it's super helpful. Like if it wasn't for her, like I feel like we wouldn't have accomplished half the stuff that we've accomplished.
Yeah, because when we bought the house, you know, one of the things like, well, we got to bring our moms. Because, you know, that's kind of, they're going to get to an age where they can't work and they can't pay bills. And I know with
We
my
just
mom.
want to take care of them.
Yeah,
It's our
Yeah,
chance.
exactly. Now it's our turn
Yeah,
to give back
yeah.
to them, and
And around the time, Adi and Aiden were with my mom like every day. You know, we would go to work sometimes, have to go in the morning, and then her in like the afternoon. So it's like the whole day they would spend with her. So it's like, you know, she was always there, and they got used to her, and you know, they hang out with her more than they hang out with us.
When we first moved here, they would not come out of her room. Like they were
Mm.
just in there. Like, do we have kids? Like,
Yeah, like,
where are they?
it's a big house and no kids, you know. It's like they would like wake up, go to her room, play, and like sometimes I would go in there like, it's so hot in here, so stuffy. Well, so many kids in the room, you know. And it's like, but that's my mom's life, you know. And I guess, I mean, we were also like very grateful because, you know, like our schedules would be crazy.
It's
know?
still pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Like our schedule, sometimes I get off at like 10:30 p.m.s. You know, like sometimes we get off at like 3:30, whatever. It's like super mixed. We don't have a set schedule, and she's just always there. You know, and you know, my mom too. Sometimes like because she works, and when she has time to watch them, she's like, oh, I can watch them. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say that even to this day, both our parents are super supportive. They take care of Paula while I work. Well, we both work, and then on Wednesdays, that's our date night. So his mom takes care of both of them, and we're like, okay, this is our time, you know, and that's why we're here. Yeah, thanks to our parents.
Yeah.
Thank you, grandparents.
I know, for real. Yeah, you know, it's nice. You know, it's just that's one of the things I was telling her, like, you know, because unfortunately for us, they don't have granddads. You know, my dad lives in Hawaii, and then her dad's in
Fresno.
No, it's past Fresno. I don't know. It's crazy.
Bakersfield.
No, it is.
He lives in Bakersfield.
I don't know. It's a weird town. It's like a weird town out of Bakersfield, but they don't have grandparents, like granddads, you know, but grandmothers la tienen, and, you know, they no les falta amor. You know, that's one of the things that we've talked about. Well, no tienen abuelos, pero tienen abuelas, and that kind of makes up for it. Yeah. So, fast forward a couple years, you guys decided to get married, right?
Yeah. 2021.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. We just did it this year in March. So one of my things has always been like, I do not want to remember two dates, like the date that we started going out and the date that we got married. So
That's
it
smart.
has to be
okay,
right.
Yeah,
it has to be the same date that we started going out, and that was March 26th. So it has to be a March 26th, Gustavo. And then this year it landed on a Friday. I'm like, Friday, that's a good day to get married. With the pandemic, we didn't have to worry about having a big party because we couldn't invite so many people. And then everything worked out. We made the appointment. It was easy to make an appointment at the marriage. We got the marriage license in the county to get married super quick. And we just had dinner with our parents and our kids, and that was it. And we're like, we did it.
Yeah, legally married.
so look, Sebastian, we're married.
Yeah, now I can tell Sebastian we're married. Sebastian.
He was like,
You can
finally.
tell. Finally, right?
Did you guys already have Paola?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Paula was already born.
I think maybe that was another reason why, like, okay, our family's complete. I think if we get married, we have nice pictures with both of our kids, and that's it, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've been, well, the marriage thing was, at first, it was funny because I've been wearing her down when it comes to the marriage. So We started off with she
It's
wanted
called compromise.
Okay, no, I wore her down. Okay, so she wanted a huge wedding. You know, traditional. You know, like everybody in their family, cousins, third cousins, everyone to be there. And I was like, that's really expensive. And then I was like, and I gotta buy you the ring. Oh, that's a lot of money, right? So then we're like, why just have a small one, right? And so eventually she's like, okay, I'll settle for. I mean, we didn't have a number of people, but she's like, okay, it doesn't have to be that big. And we're like, okay, well, I don't have the money yet, so not yet. And then eventually she's like, are we gonna get married or what? Right? And I was like, what's your wedding? We don't have the money for your wedding. But then she was like, and then that's when she was like, let's just get married. And it's funny because it happened it felt like last minute, right? She's like, let's just do it this year. And we're like, sure. And then and then it worked out great, I think.
Yeah.
It's like all those plans.
Right. I mean,
do it.
once you start thinking about it, you're like, you're right. Like, we don't need that big wedding. We don't need all these guests, and we could spend that money on something else. Maybe.
Don't get me wrong. If we had the money, we definitely would have the huge wedding. But,
yeah, of course.
but that's the problem too.
Yeah. I think we thought about it, and we're like, yeah, you're right. And so, yeah.
Yeah, because when we got married, Aiden, I mean, he was already born. And I think we also kind of went through too fast because we didn't think about 2 different dates. Because we had 2 different dates for our anniversary when we first started going out, and our wedding anniversary is like, ask her when our wedding anniversary is. We picked the hardest one too. It's between June or July. Those 2 months.
And it's either the 6th or the 7th.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And those 2 months, I was getting confused. The only reason July is because July 4th. You know, that's the only thing I can really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, my mom's birthday's in June or July. I don't know.
Your mom's birthday's July.
Yeah, so we picked like the wrong time, I guess. But when we got married too, we were like, you know, we were with your mom. We were living with your mom in a house, you know. So we were like going half and half on bills. But around the time, like, you know, we were broke, you know, so we have much money for like a big wedding.
We're still broke. We just not.
Well, we're not as broke, you know. But yeah, so it was like, you know, we kind of like we wanted to do it. You know, we had Aiden like, well, you know, let's make it official. You know, around the time it was like we already feel like we're married. Like, you know, we got a kid. You know, we've been living together for a while, so it's like let's make it official. So I mean, I don't know about her now, but the wedding part was like, well, let's just get married. You know, let's make it official.
I don't know if you want to share like your status or.
Oh yeah, so around that time, I was before DACA, so I'm a DACA recipient. So I was working minimum wage, you know, and at McDonald's I was a manager. I was an assistant store manager, so I was like second one in, you know, above. Yeah, and I was getting paid like $2 more than the minimum wage. So it's like, you know, living wage out of that is like, you know, you just can't really live, you know. So like, luckily around that time we were living in a house, and the owner was charging us like $900 for a house.
Yeah, we're paying very cheap.
Wow.
For a house. It was like a 3-bedroom house, and we split that in half. So it was like, you know, we were living because we were in a good situation, but we couldn't afford much stuff, you know. So cuando antes que naciera Aiden, I proposed to her. I gave her a ring. And I took so long to like save up for that ring. It was like around that time, it was like $700, $800. It's not that much if you think about it, but it took me a long time. Because minimum wage is rough.
Yeah, because they say it's supposed to be 3 months of salary, of your monthly wage, but I think that's crazy when you think about 3 months for one ring. I mean, yes, it's important. Don't get me wrong. It's because Teddy's laughing at me right now. But it's just crazy how 3 months of a rent on a ring, and then you still have to pay for the wedding and the bands, and it's expensive. It definitely is.
Yeah, it adds up, you know.
Right.
Yeah. So around that time, we I didn't have much for anything, you know. And I think around the time you were at IKEA already.
Yeah, I was already working.
Yes, but she was working part time, so it was like tampoco we didn't have like a lot of hours put in there, so it was rough. So we kind of had to compromise. Like, well, let's get married, you know, and make maybe down the future, like, you know, dreaming.
Let's just make the best out of it.
Yeah, so we invited, of course, my mom, her mom. And I think friends. I think I've just invited like 2 friends, and that was it. You know, it was pretty.
We also kind of did it with the hopes that, like, you know, because I am a citizen, that I would be able to help him out. But that didn't work out.
Yeah. No, I mean, I never went with that mentality because, in a sense, I didn't want people like think about, oh, I was just with her because, por los papeles.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she kind of pushed it because I think she saw a future with me. So she wanted to help me so we can get there, but I didn't want to like take advantage. And I told her like, I'll figure it out. I mean, I've been here since I was 3 years old. Something's got to pop up. And then years later, at McDonald's, there was a robbery. So I could have applied through there. But no, it's hella messed up. Like the robbery happened, they like put a gun at me, and we filed a report. And it could have like around that time they had this, I don't know what it calls, is a law or a bill where you can get papers if you've been like abused domestically or a criminal, something like that. Everybody got papers. No one told me. I swear to God, no one told me. So everybody that was involved in that situation, like the cook, the maintenance guy, and a cashier, they all got papers. And they're like, so, they were celebrating. Oh, I got my papers. Oh, cool. How did you do it? Oh, when we got robbed. Like, oh, shit, I didn't know that.
What?
Yeah, I swear to God.
Is it too late to claim that?
Well, yeah, actually, I did it, but I already had DACA during the time. But to me, the way I saw it, I thought, I might as well do it now. So it could be like permanently full resident as opposed to just a work permit. So I went through that. I think it's been like 2 years since I applied. So it's like 5 years now. So I still got to wait another 2-3 years. But it beats, I think DACA helped us because, from as soon as I got DACA, I started looking for jobs somewhere else and, slowly. But yeah, I got where I want to, for sure.
Yeah.
Good for you, Mario, and good luck. Hopefully
Yeah,
there's something out there to help so many people out there.
Yeah, I know for my personal experience, DACA has helped a lot of people, and just my personal opinion, I think it made it easy for me to have like a living wage because it was rough.
No, yeah, definitely, because they definitely take advantage of people who don't have papers. Even like assistant branch manager earning only $2 than the starting person. It seems crazy to me.
Yeah, I think back then it was like $7.50. I was like making
like $8.25,
$8.50.
You weren't even making $9?
No, not until years later. I was a store manager. I was making $10. They're like, wow. I mean, but I did it for the experience because I knew I wasn't gonna be there for too long. But it was more the experience.
Yeah, it's definitely good.
Yeah, so that was something that, in a way, kind of helped us because we kind of valued what we have now a little bit, in a sense. But yeah, I mean, I think that's been a struggle for us, honestly. That the fact that we had a struggle like tight money, and now that we have stuff, it's more like we appreciate it more. Like, it feels nice,
Right. And it's a big accomplishment to get buy your own house.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I know. We never thought it was gonna happen because we would save up for money like stuff, and then a car breakdown or I remember me quitaron el carro una vez. They stopped me at un retén. What do you call those? Checkpoints.
Yeah, checkpoints.
And I went through it like shit. So me like
we
I
were
knew,
expecting Natty at the time.
Yeah, and I knew like if I don't pay,
and then you got fired.
Oh yeah, I got fired from McDonald's. Oh yeah,
We were like, it was December, and Natty was due in January. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was crazy. But I wasn't worried about around that time. I wasn't worried because I know my personality. The reason I got fired was because they were accusing that I stole money, and I told her like I don't have nothing. I checked the cameras, whatever. So
what
I
was
knew
it like $200?
$100.
Oh,
There's $100. But I knew like when I went to my next interview, I told them, hey, this happened. Like I have nothing to hide. I'm telling you, I got fired because of this. And they're like, yeah, we know what kind of person you are based on what people tell us. We're not worried. And I got a job like literally like
3 days later.
3 days later, and that's because I took a break. I would take a break, but yeah,
take a little vacation. Take some time before your next job.
And I remember Aiden. I know this is the thing with when Aiden was little, he was younger. When that happened, I took him to the park, but it was like in a way it was kind of I took him to like so I can like release some stress.
Decompress or just kinda
so I just watched them. Like I didn't even do nothing. I just watched them. I went to Alvarado Park and I just watched them play, and that kind of helped me, and I cried. I cried. No, I did cry. I was like, I cried, but it was I needed that. It's like so that's why I took an extra 2 days. So it helped out. But it was rough. It was rough. Yeah, and they do take advantage because I mean it maybe not so much that they want to. It's just the way that it's the pyramid scheme kind of way. Is the way that's kind of how they make money. Like when she started working at Keel, like wait, you get PTO? Like what was that? Like you get paid to call out?
Take days off.
To take days off. What is that? Like damn, that's crazy. But I know it's just time. time and luck in a way.
Yeah, it's funny because when you start off, I mean, that's where they take advantage of high school kids or people barely entering the workforce because, like, you don't know about all these things. And as an adult, like, now, if I get to a job and they're like, oh, there's no PTO, there's no vacations, right? I'm like, you're crazy that I'm working here, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I need those benefits.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of standard now. You kind of have to have that stuff.
Yeah.
So fast forward, sorry, kind of drifted off. But when you guys found out about Paula.
Paula.
Paula,
How did that happen? What was it? Were you guys planning?
That one was planned.
Yeah.
That one.
She was planned. Yeah, she was planned.
I think it was. I mean, we wanted to have Sebastian have a baby brother, baby sister, a little bit closer to his age. It didn't happen. Same reasons, we were going to school, jobs, we were trying to save money for a house, a lot of things. So it kind of felt like it was never the right moment to have a second child. And then after a while, we're like, it's time, Gustavo. Like, Sebastian was 8 at the time. Yeah, pretty much 8. And we're like, man, that's a big gap, 8 years old. We're like, right now is the time. Like, we either have it now or we're not going to have another baby. And he's like, yeah, you're right. Let's just do it. And we tried. We got pregnant. And in December, she was born in September. And that's another crazy story, the way she was born.
Oh, yeah. Crazy story.
Yeah. But, we were like, I wanted a boy. I wanted another boy just so Sebastian could have someone to play with. And he was asking for a baby brother. Like, that's all he wanted. I want a baby brother. I'm like, well, I mean, we can't promise you a baby brother, but you'll have someone to play with and take care of. And he was like, okay. But it turned out to be a girl. And she's great. And Sebastian really loves her too. It's just that the dynamics between them is a little different because she is a girl, but it's good.
Yeah, well, I mean, to add to your story is that we were, like she's saying, we weren't ready because we had said that because we were living with my mom at the time, right? And we're like, how are we gonna have a second baby living with my parents? Like, me, her, and Sebastian were sharing a room, and it's like, are we gonna really bring our daughter to us sharing 4 of us sharing a room? So she's like, and then that's when we decided, like, well, we either have to get our own apartment or we have to get our house. And then when we were finally looking, seriously looking, and it looked like things were aligning to like we were gonna have our own home. That's why we decided we're like, okay, we're on the steps to get our own home, and right now would be the time to have her. So then we luckily we bought our home, and then we had her 2 months after.
Right. Yeah. After closing.
After closing, yeah, 2 months after, yeah.
Oh, she moved in into the new house.
And she welcomed the house because she was born in the house.
Oh, for real?
Oh, yeah.
She was born there
She was born
in the kitchen.
Nice.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
that was not planned, by the way. It was not planned. We were getting our stuff ready to go to the hospital. It was in the morning, 8 in the morning, and I started feeling contraction. I told Gustavo, like, I think it's time. Like, I felt like pushing, like that urge of pushing. I was like, wow, is it really like that? And like, Gustavo, we have to go. And because we took classes and things like that, they said, well, what was the last time you had a baby? I'm like, 8 years ago. And they're like, oh, it's going to feel like your first baby because it's been such a long time between your babies. It's going to take a while. And we're like, okay, we never thought it was going to happen so quick. And Gustavo was like, yeah, like, they're not long enough. Like, he was timing the contractions. They're like, no, they're not long enough. Just keep walking, keep breathing. But they were really strong contractions. And I told Gustavo, like, no, it's time to go. And he's like, okay. He started putting things in the car. I went to the kitchen, reached for a bag of chips just for snacks. And then from then on, I dropped the bag of chips. I couldn't move anymore. My legs were shaking. I was holding on to the kitchen counter. And I was just like, Gustavo, she's coming. And I felt like the pop, like the head coming out. And I was wearing a dress. So I told Gustavo, like, she's out. Like, he came running from outside because he was putting things inside the car. So he came running inside the house and he lifted up my dress and he's like, yeah, she's here. Yeah. And he called 911 right away. And they were giving him instructions on what to do because I was freaking out. Like, she wasn't crying. And we're like, Gustavo, she's not crying. But Gustavo, like, again, he's the very more calm, and I don't know how he did it, but he was super calm, and he knew that the baby wasn't supposed to cry until like the whole body comes out. I didn't know that. I was just freaking out. And so Gustavo was on the phone with the 911 operator, and he delivered the baby. Gustavo delivered the baby. The baby came out. Gustavo grabbed her. He gave her to me. I tried to do just like that, skin to skin. And then the paramedics got there like 2 minutes later. No, maybe quicker than that, right? Everything happened so fast.
Everything happened quick. Wow. I just feel bad because I was comparing it to when Sebastian was born. So that day, the whole night, she would not let me sleep.
You're talking about Sebastian?
Sebastian, yeah. I'm talking about Sebastian. She was like, if I can't sleep, you can't sleep. So the whole night, the day before he was born, I couldn't sleep. And then we went into the hospital the next day. And pretty much, we were there all day. Sebastian came out like at 6 p.m. Right? So with Paula, they were like, oh, it should be the same thing. You're expecting the same thing. So when the contractions were coming, I was like, oh, we still got time. Like, why are you worried? And then that previous night, she slept comfortable. Like, she didn't get any contractions or hardly any until that morning. It's like, oh, it's going to happen today. And we're like, okay, cool. And we're taking our time, you know. And then she said, I was taking my time. Yeah, I was like, we're going to be in the hospital all day. So then she's like, oh, Goose, they're starting to get stronger. And I'm like, yeah, but I was like, they're not even a minute yet. And they're not even that far. And the whole
feeling it,
yeah,
right? Exactly.
Yeah. And then that's when the whole events happened with her and grabbing the chips and Paula being born. And essentially, like, as soon as she came out, I put her on her chest. And, like, it wasn't 2 minutes. It was probably, like a minute. And then the door was open because my car was on. Everything was on. We're leaving. And they kept knocking on the door, like, can we come in? And we're like, yeah, like, come on in. And then they kind of took over from there. And they were like, oh, do you want to cut the cord? And at that point, like you said, I was very calm and collected during the whole ordeal. But when they finally came in, like, I felt relief, but I was, like, scared. Because a lot of things could have gone wrong in that short, like, it felt like 10 minutes, but it was probably like 3-4 minutes that all went down. So they were like, you want to cut? I was like, no, I'm good. so I did enough, I think. Like, I'm not supposed to deliver my own baby. But then they took care of her, took her to the hospital, and then I met her there later today.
Wow. That's crazy.
That's exciting.
That's beautiful.
It's a story, right? To tell Paula when she gets older, like, you were born here in this exact spot. But yeah, it was,
this is your birthplace,
right? Yeah, and in the birth certificate it says that, like, it has our home address as the place that she was born.
Wow, that's crazy. That's beautiful. Honestly, it is. It's a nice story. You know, once she's bigger.
I wouldn't recommend it though. It's very scary.
Yes, don't do it at home.
Unless you have a
Don't try this at home.
Yeah. Don't try it.
So if anybody's hearing this, Gustavo can deliver babies. Hit him up.
Honestly,
Dr. Guzman is in the building.
It's all thanks to Mr. Hunt and all those amazing baby videos he made us watch in high school.
For real.
Yeah, he made us watch so many of those videos that when it was happening, I was like, it's finally happening.
Like, he prepared me for this.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't know that. It was crazy.
Yeah,
so
now I feel like we can't sell the house anymore.
No, that's yours.
Forever and ever. Yeah.
That's her asset now.
That's her.
Man, that's crazy. I'm shocked, honestly. That's yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, do you guys have any questions? I know you guys, have a time frame. We don't want to keep you too long. Is there any questions you guys might have? Anything you guys are wondering? Tips and tricks or something like that?
I don't know. Do you have any tips and tricks for us?
No, honestly, I think you guys are doing great. You guys have been together for a long time, longer than we have. And from what we see, like, at least my perspective, you guys are happy,
Yeah.
And happy.
Or we're
family.
just good at hiding it, huh?
I like that. Well, but I know, I think you guys are doing great. I just kind of wanted to get your perspective on, what makes a long, relationship work. I got
Thank you guys for sharing what you guys have shared.
I just feel a little bit bad just because it's like, it's kind of what you hear from everyone. Like, oh, it's communication. It's compromise, understanding.
Right.
But it's true.
But
It works.
it's true.
Very true.
Like, each and every person that we've had so far, it has a lot to do with that. You know, I think the most
Like maybe that'll teach someone else something, you know?
like you know,
oh, compromise. I never thought of that.
yeah, because one of her cousin, he came over. He was our first guest, technically. His main problem was like, you know, the communication, you know, and
They
the
were also
patience.
very young.
Yeah.
I remember when they started dating, like 18, 17, 18, 19, I don't know. They were very young and had a lot of like communication issues. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we could only stretch it so much, but I mean, it's true. I mean, you guys went through your thing, and in a sense, you know, compromise and learn how to grow. Because you know, sometimes, you know, men or women can be like, you know, I want someone that's already developed, someone that's already like, you know, grown up. I don't want to make that work, you know. So it's like, you know, it's important to hear it, you know. And in a sense, you had your struggles similar to us, but differently in your own way. You know, so it's just something that maybe someone might go through, because I've never had that problem, because, you know, I'm also like, you know, more shyer on the side. So, you know, someone might be going through what you guys went through, and it's, you know, it resonates with them.
Right.
So it's important information, honestly. And that's the thing, like, you know, I was telling Graciela maybe like 3 weeks ago, like, I'm always been curious, like a curious person. One of the things like that I've learned through my family genes is that in my mom's side, my dad's side, his mom is indigenous, and on his dad's side, he's have Japanese ancestry. So I'm always curious about different, like, you know, like religions and different types of like people from different cultures. And so I'm always been very like, you know, curious. So I remember in high school, I used to get in trouble. And like, I would ask like Asian people like, hey, so where you from? Like, not trying to be messed up or like racist, but I was curious, like, you know, where's your family from? Like, what kind of like origin? And they would get mad at me like, I'm American. I'm like, I know, but like, you know, like your family, you know, it's because I was always so curious, you know, about like different types of culture. And now that we have this podcast, I'm actually like very like, you know, curious about what makes people, their relationship work, what didn't make it work. And I know it's just something that I've learned through this little experience that I'm just that type of person. So it's also for informational purposes. I want people to hear, like, you know, like different things like that didn't work with me. That was me, bro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was me. Things that we didn't experience, you know, people might like, oh, I don't know, I can't relate to them, but they can relate to you guys, you know. So that's important.
Well, I guess one tip that I guess we could share is that you definitely have to go on vacations every once in a while. That definitely helps us out, right?
Yeah, just to kind of reset, you know.
Do something fun every once in a while.
Once in a while, appreciate what you have, right? And be like, okay, we need to work harder to do this again next year, you know? So things like that, yeah, for sure. No, I think this is a great idea, Mario and Graciela, like having this couples kind of coming together and talk about what they've gone through, the obstacles, the struggles, and also how to overcome them. And I feel like it's like therapy, right?
Yeah.
It feels good to like let some of those things out and just like you said, if it helps other people kind of deal with their problems and also our successes, right? Like what can they do as well to feel accomplished, and go for it. It's good.
Yeah, I know when we went to the boys' party with JD, we were invited to their podcast, and that's where we had that mentality. Like, that was like, when I got out, it was like, it felt good talking about, you know, our things.
He felt like a weight lifted off his shoulders.
In a way, yeah. So when we started like recording our first few episodes, it was like, in a sense, like we were connecting more. We're a little more like just therapeutical. It was like we were able to understand each other more, because as we're talking, we kind of have to like process our minds or like our ideas.
Go back in time and like, oh, okay, we could have done this differently.
And and I don't mind when she brings up Adi, you know, the way I was acting around, because I look at it like, I need to hear
stop talking to me for 3 days.
I need to hear that, because, you know, it's like, okay, I dropped the ball there. You know, I should have acted differently. But in a sense, I kind of need that slap, you know, like, hey, you know, you had your errors too. You know, you weren't perfect, you know. So, you know, it's therapeutical, and it's kind of like, you know, it helps me.
So one quick question then. So you just didn't talk to her for like 3 days, or how? Because he says no 3 days, but like, does that mean like you would walk in from work, just kind of, hey, and then just kind of go, or?
So the way that I am, I guess, even sometimes, I guess when I'm mad, like I'd be like, you know, she says something like, yeah, I know, and it'd be like very short, like yes, no. And it's like, are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. You know, and I can already see that's how it was before, because that's the way I am now. You know, of course, I don't hold it that long. I was just, you know, we kind of have to talk about the problems, but If it was 3
You've
days,
changed.
yeah.
You're
If it
not
was
like
3
that.
days, I can already imagine that's exactly how I was. And I would get up for the morning and go to work and not even say. I can already see that I wasn't saying bye to her or giving her a kiss. Because I used to always do that, and I still do that. I was just, she's sleeping, I'll give her a kiss. Oh, yeah, my boy, And I can already see that I wasn't doing it. And it feels messed up. It does feel messed up. So with this new baby, with this new pregnancy, I kind of want to, redeem myself. I want to do things differently. It's just something that, I had to think about in process.
Yeah, I feel
sure.
like everybody definitely, yeah. Because it does, I feel like this does help. Like it did, you, like you said, you're kind of laying things out, and it does help to talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. Cool.
For sure.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming in. When we did the podcast, it's like, we started inviting guests. You guys were also one of the first few ones that we wanted to bring in.
Mm-hmm.
So you're only like our fourth, fifth guest. And definitely we have like a top 10 or 20 people. But definitely you guys were one because,
Say that.
I'm saying people like right off the
For
bat.
this season.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For the
like,
beginning, yeah.
Or that people that we know, we had some type of history because like they say, like I said earlier, people like, oh, you guys been together for that long? Well, we know people that have been together for a little longer than us. So, we know what made us relationship, last so far. We want to hear your story, and that's kind of why we wanted to bring you guys on for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for having us, for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
It was nice.
Yeah, thank you. Want to say anything else?
I'm good.
All right, guys. So thank you for tuning in. See you on the next one.